21. Secretly gay. Stars of the golden age of Hollywood. Imagine being worshipped as the ultimate masculine heartthrob adored by millions of women, yet knowing that if one single secret leaked, your entire billion-dollar career would be instantly destroyed. During the golden age of Hollywood, the glittering studio system manufactured flawless icons, but behind heavily guarded mansion doors, the reality was a terrifying psychological prison. Many of our most legendary leading men were forced into entirely fake, highly publicized marriages just to desperately hide their true identities from a ruthlessly unforgiving society. Welcome to American Icon Stories. Today, we are ripping away the glamorous vintage facade to expose the heartbreaking double lives of exactly 21 secretly gay stars. Please hit that subscribe button and comment right now. Rudolph Valentino. Die Age. 31 in 1926. In the roaring 1920s, no name ignited the silver screen quite like Rudolph Valentino. Universally worshipped as silent cinema's ultimate Latin lover, his smoldering gaze in legendary epics like The Sheik and Blood and Sand defined the romantic fantasies of an entire generation. Millions of women adored him, projecting their wildest dreams onto his magnetic, incredibly masculine on-screen persona. Yet behind closed doors, Valentino's reality was a tightly guarded labyrinth of secrets. To protect his monumental career in a deeply intolerant era, he entered into two highly publicized, disastrous marriages. His first union to actress Jean Acker famously imploded on their very wedding night, while his second to Natasha Rambova was notoriously stormy and brief. These chaotic relationships only fueled relentless industry whispers about his true sexuality. Despite consistently denying rumors of his affairs with male companions and publicly boasting about his female admirers, he could never entirely escape the harsh scrutiny of a rigid society. Cruel tabloids viciously mocked his refined elegance and rejection of traditional macho stereotypes, infamously branding him a pink powder puff to strip away his masculine allure. He was trapped in a golden cage, forced to constantly defend his identity while bearing his authentic self to maintain his global stardom. Tragically, passing away at the remarkably young age of 31, Valentino left behind a breathtaking cinematic legacy, forever shadowed by an unspoken truth. His brief, brilliant life stands as a heartbreaking testament to the devastating psychological price of early Hollywood fame. Will Gere. Die Age. 76 in 1978. To millions of devoted television viewers, Will Gere was the absolute embodiment of wholesome American family values, famously capturing hearts as the wise, lovable Grandpa Zebulon on the iconic series The Waltons. However, the comforting patriarchal image he projected on screen was a stark contrast to his revolutionary reality. Long before the mainstream fight for equality began, Gere was quietly navigating a complex, deeply guarded truth. In the 1930s, he engaged in a passionate romantic relationship with Harry Hay, a fierce activist who would eventually co-found the modern gay rights movement. Their profound bond was rooted not just in love, but in a shared dangerous devotion to radical leftist politics during a deeply conservative era. To survive the crushing societal expectations of mid-century Hollywood, Gere entered a traditional marriage with actress Herta Ware, raising 3 children together. Yet even within the confines of this arrangement, their relationship was built on a foundation of immense respect and a mutual understanding of his true sexuality. Although they eventually divorced in 1954, they remained lifelong confidants. Gere never officially came out to the unforgiving public, choosing instead to channel his truth into decades of relentless quiet activism for marginalized communities. He brilliantly mastered the agonizing art of balancing his hidden personal identity with a massive, beloved public persona. Passing away at the age of 76 in 1978, his legacy is not merely the warm grandfather figure we watched on television, but a brave revolutionary soul who quietly fought for a more accepting world. Liberace. Die Age. 67 in 1987. Liberace was the undisputed king of glittering excess, mesmerizing global audiences with a breathtaking blend of classical piano virtuosity and outrageous pop culture showmanship. Draped in heavy rhinestones, massive feathers, and surrounded by his signature candelabras, Mr. Showmanship transformed the traditional concert stage into an unparalleled, dazzling spectacle. Yet, beneath the blinding sequins and his famously flamboyant persona, he was entirely consumed by a desperate lifelong battle to hide his true identity from the very fans who adored him. In an era where a public outing meant absolute professional annihilation, Liberace went to extreme, often ruthless lengths to fiercely protect his carefully manufactured heterosexual image. He vehemently denied persistent rumors regarding his sexuality, frequently fabricating elaborate stories of romances with high-profile women and famously suing publications that dared to question his private life. Behind heavily locked doors, however, his reality was vastly different, highlighted by a tumultuous long-term romance with his much younger companion Scott Thorson. When their hidden relationship inevitably soured, it resulted in a highly explosive palimony lawsuit that threatened to completely tear down Liberace's glittering empire. Despite the mounting tabloid evidence and his declining health, the legendary entertainer stubbornly refused to break character. He took his secret to the grave, passing away from AIDS-related complications at the age of 67 in 1987. His extraordinary, tragic life serves as a haunting reminder of the immense psychological toll exacted by an industry that forced its brightest stars to shine from inside a dark closet. Sir John Gielgud, Die Age, 96 in 2000. Sir John Gielgud was an absolute titan of the British stage, commanding a legendary career that spanned over an astonishing 6 decades. Revered globally for his masterful, booming interpretations of Shakespearean classics and his eventual Academy Award-winning cinematic triumphs, his voice alone was considered a national treasure. Within the tightly knit, fiercely loyal circles of the London theatre community, his homosexuality was a widely accepted open secret. However, to the broader, deeply conservative public of the era, revealing his true identity was not just a career ender, it was a literal crime. The delicate, carefully orchestrated balance of his life violently shattered in 1953. At the absolute height of his prestige, Gielgud was humiliatingly arrested and charged with importuning for immoral purposes after an undercover police sting, during a time when similar scandals routinely drove men to complete ruin or even suicide. The ruthless tabloid press waited for his glittering career to be completely destroyed. Instead, something incredibly miraculous occurred. Rather than abandoning him, his theatrical peers and the public fiercely rallied behind their beloved maestro. When he next stepped onto the stage, he was greeted not with cruel jeers, but with a thunderous, deeply emotional standing ovation that brought him to tears. Though he never formally came out to the press, famously quipping that his private life had to be lived as a necessary compromise, his quiet resilience struck a powerful blow against institutional homophobia. Passing away at the remarkable age of 96 in 2000, Gielgud's legacy remains a breathtaking testament to enduring artistry and the unyielding courage it took to simply survive. Cesar Romero, Die Age, 86 in 1994. To an entire generation of television viewers, Cesar Romero is eternally immortalized as the wildly manic, delightfully chaotic Joker from the 1960s Batman series. Yet long before he painted his face white and terrorized Gotham, he reigned supreme as classic Hollywood's quintessential Latin lover. Blessed with dashing good looks, impeccable style, and an utterly commanding presence, he effortlessly swooned audiences in major romantic hits like The Thin Man. On the silver screen, he was the ultimate masculine heartthrob, but his actual personal life was a masterclass in highly sophisticated, glamorous misdirection. Romero was the ultimate Hollywood bachelor, never marrying and rarely maintaining long-term public relationships. To appease the ruthless studio executives and completely neutralize the vicious gossip tabloids, he became the industry's most sought-after professional escort. He frequently stepped out on the glittering red carpet, arm in arm with dazzling female stars, projecting a flawless, heavily manufactured, heterosexual facade. However, within the exclusive, velvet-roped inner circles of the entertainment industry, his homosexuality was a widely accepted reality. Rather than living in agonizing fear of exposure, Romero ingeniously cultivated a brilliant aura of absolute, untouchable mystery. He flat out refused to address the rumors, letting his effortless charm and impeccable manners completely disarm the press. Known universally by his co-stars as a consummate gentleman who treated everyone with profound respect, his undeniable charisma shielded him from the era's brutal prejudices. Passing away at the age of 86 in 1994, Romero successfully navigated a fiercely intolerant Hollywood, with a dazzling smile proving that sometimes the greatest performance is the one that protects your own truth. Raymond Burr, Die Age, 76 in 1993. To millions of mesmerized television viewers, Raymond Burr was the absolute epitome of unshakable justice and commanding authority. Immortalized as the brilliant, larger-than-life defense attorney Perry Mason, and later as the relentless detective in Ironside, his booming voice and intense gaze dominated the golden age of television. He projected a formidable, invincible, masculine presence that audiences implicitly trusted. However, behind his towering on-screen confidence lay one of the most meticulously constructed, heartbreaking illusions in Hollywood history. In an era where the slightest rumor of homosexuality could instantly obliterate a thriving career, Burr went to unimaginable lengths to fiercely protect his hidden truth. To satisfy the relentless prying tabloid press, he completely fabricated a deeply tragic personal history. He spun elaborate, heart-wrenching tales of a deceased wife who tragically perished in a historic plane crash and a fictional son who allegedly died of leukemia. This brilliantly executed, sorrowful narrative successfully provided him with an impenetrable shield of public sympathy, preventing reporters from digging too closely into his actual private affairs. Behind the devastatingly effective lie, Burr found genuine, profound happiness in the shadows. He quietly shared an incredibly beautiful 35-year romantic partnership with former actor and wine producer Robert Benavides. Their enduring bond remained one of the industry's most fiercely guarded secrets until Burr's passing from cancer at the age of 76 in 1993. His deeply complex life serves as a haunting, powerful reminder of the unimaginable lengths LGBTQ+ pioneers were forced to go to secure their own survival and protect the ones they truly loved. Tab Hunter, Die Age, 86 in 2018. If you wanted to perfectly design the ultimate quintessential American heartthrob of the 1950s, you would simply point to Tab Hunter. With his blindingly blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and impossibly perfect surfer physique, he was the absolute crowning jewel of the studio system. Millions of teenage girls plastered his face across their bedroom walls, completely captivated by the flawless swoon-worthy image carefully manufactured by powerful Hollywood executives. Yet behind the endless magazine covers and high-profile studio premieres, Hunter was living a profoundly agonizing double life. To actively feed the voracious gossip columns and maintain his lucrative status as a mainstream teen idol, his studio ruthlessly orchestrated a never-ending string of fake, highly publicized dates with stunning young starlets like Natalie Wood. While he flashed his million-dollar smile for the blinding paparazzi cameras alongside these beautiful women, his heart actually belonged to another Hollywood leading man. In secret, he shared a deeply passionate, highly dangerous romance with psycho star Anthony Perkins. The crushing, suffocating paranoia of being exposed by brutal smear publications constantly loomed over his every move. For decades, he remained imprisoned, by his own staggering success, forced to bury his authentic identity to survive the violently homophobic landscape of the era. Thankfully, Hunter ultimately lived long enough to courageously reclaim his own truth, publishing a wildly successful, deeply moving memoir that finally shattered the glittering illusions of his youth. Passing away at the age of 86 in 2018, the iconic matinee idol transformed from a manufactured studio commodity into a fierce, triumphant symbol of quiet endurance and genuine self-acceptance. James Mitchell, die Age 89 in 2010. For decades, James Mitchell captivated daytime television audiences with his deliciously cunning, intensely charismatic portrayal of the wealthy patriarch Palmer Courtland on the massive hit soap opera All My Children. Long before he conquered the small screen, he was a breathtaking force on Broadway, utilizing his extraordinary, deeply expressive talent as a classically trained dancer in legendary stage musicals like Carousel and Brigadoon. He commanded the spotlight with an undeniable aristocratic authority that made him an absolute television staple. Yet the scheming, highly dramatic romantic entanglements of his famous fictional character were a complete universe away from the beautiful, quiet reality of his actual personal life. While his soap opera persona constantly chased scandalous public affairs, Mitchell purposefully retreated into a fiercely guarded, incredibly peaceful private world. In an unforgiving era where a single tabloid whisper could instantly obliterate a thriving career, he actively chose to protect his heart over chasing mainstream Hollywood validation. Behind closed doors, he shared a remarkably profound 39-year romantic partnership with Oscar-winning costume designer Albert Wolski. While he never officially declared his sexuality to the relentless press, his truth was a widely accepted, deeply respected, open secret among his fiercely loyal circle of theatrical friends. He navigated the treacherous homophobic waters of the entertainment industry with unparalleled grace and absolute integrity, never allowing the oppressive society to corrupt his spirit. Passing away at the age of 89 in 2010, Mitchell left behind a massive television legacy, forever serving as a beautiful symbol of quiet. Triumphant authenticity. Montgomery Clift, die Age 45 in 1966. Montgomery Clift was the original breathtaking architect of the brooding Hollywood anti-hero, erupting onto the silver screen with piercingly beautiful features and an emotionally raw, deeply vulnerable acting style. He completely shattered the rigid stoic illusion of classic leading men in cinematic masterpieces like From Here to Eternity, In a Place in the Sun. He effortlessly projected a magnetic, tortured sensitivity that left audiences entirely spellbound. However, the profound, agonizing pain he brilliantly conveyed on camera was not just an acting technique. It was a devastating reflection of his own deeply closeted tragic reality. In a fiercely unforgiving era where homosexuality was not only a massive cultural taboo, but actively criminalized, Clift was intensely suffocated by profound internalized shame. While close confidants, like the legendary Elizabeth Taylor, fiercely protected his secret and offered unwavering support, the crushing, inescapable pressure of hiding his true identity began to violently consume his spirit. His internal battles manifested into severe personal turbulence, leading to a heavy reliance on alcohol and prescription pills to simply numb the paralyzing fear of exposure. The absolute turning point of his tragic narrative occurred in 1956, when a horrific near-fatal car crash brutally shattered his famously flawless face. The devastating accident drastically accelerated his heartbreaking, highly publicized downward spiral. Despite delivering incredibly powerful, soul-stirring performances in his final years, the immense weight of his hidden life ultimately broke him. Passing away at the devastatingly young age of 45 in 1966, Clift remains one of Hollywood's most brilliant, tragically tortured souls. George Nader, the age 80 in 2002. In the hyper-masculine, glittering landscape of 1950s, Hollywood George Nader was the ultimate breathtaking embodiment of the classic American leading man. Armed with ruggedly handsome features, an incredible physique, and an undeniable magnetic charm, he quickly captured the attention of millions in popular films like Six Bridges to Cross. He was firmly on the fast track to becoming a monumental A-list superstar, completely adored by fans and highly respected by his cinematic peers. However, in a notoriously ruthless industry governed by strict, suffocating heteronormative rules, his soaring trajectory was violently cut short by a devastating whisper campaign. When vicious rumors regarding his homosexuality began heavily circulating through the studio, backlots, the unforgiving Hollywood machine immediately turned its back on him. Rather than desperately fighting to stay in a deeply toxic environment that demanded he bury his true identity, Nader made an incredibly courageous, profoundly beautiful choice. He gracefully walked away from the dazzling spotlight. Retiring from the silver screen to become a successful science fiction writer, he actively chose absolute authenticity over hollow manufactured fame. Away from the flashing paparazzi cameras, he shared an extraordinary, unbreakable 55-year romantic partnership with Mark Miller. Together, they navigated the complexities of life and served as fiercely loyal confidants to fellow closeted stars like Rock Hudson. Passing away at the age of 80 in 2002, Nader's legacy is not defined by the glittering movie roles he lost, but by the triumphant, enduring love story he bravely chose to protect. Merv Griffin, The Age, 2007. While many celebrities desperately clamor for a fleeting moment of fame, Merv Griffin was the undisputed brilliant mastermind who single-handedly built a sprawling television empire. As the immensely charismatic host of The Merv Griffin Show and the legendary creator of monumental culture-defining game shows like Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, his creative genius revolutionized the global entertainment industry. He was a larger-than-life media mogul, effortlessly commanding the attention of millions of households every single day. Yet while he orchestrated the greatest public spectacles in television history, his own private life was locked inside an impenetrable, fiercely guarded vault. Throughout his spectacular multi-decade career, relentless rumors regarding his sexuality constantly swirled through the Hollywood rumor mill, heavily fueled by his lifelong bachelor status and intimate relationships with male companions. For Griffin, the stakes of exposure were astronomically high. Coming out wouldn't just derail a standard acting career. It threatened to completely obliterate a multi-million-dollar corporate empire. To survive, he mastered the brilliant art of misdirection, frequently utilizing his razor-sharp wit to laugh off intrusive questions, once famously and playfully quipping that he never received any complaints from either sex. Even when explosive, high-profile palimony lawsuits threatened to tear down his carefully constructed facade in his later years, he remained absolutely tight-lipped, refusing to let the tabloids dictate his narrative. Passing away at the age of 82 in 2007, the ingenious television titan left behind a dazzling legacy, forever masking his deepest personal truths behind a brilliant, unstoppable smile. Rock Hudson, Die Age, 59 in 1985. Rock Hudson was the undisputed absolute pinnacle of Hollywood masculinity. With his towering height, ruggedly handsome features, and incredibly magnetic charm, he effortlessly conquered the silver screen in legendary cinematic classics like Giant and Pillow Talk. To millions of swooning fans across the globe, he was the ultimate flawless romantic hero, the perfect gentleman every woman desperately dreamed of marrying. However, the immense suffocating weight of being America's golden boy required him to live a deeply agonizing double life. To fiercely protect his billion-dollar box office appeal from the violently homophobic gossip tabloids, his powerful studio ruthlessly orchestrated a highly publicized, entirely fabricated marriage of convenience to his own secretary in 1955. While he flashed a brilliant manufactured smile for the relentless paparazzi, he secretly sought genuine solace behind heavily locked doors, desperately hiding his true romantic relationships with men. For decades, he brilliantly played the role of the untouchable heterosexual icon, but his deeply guarded reality violently collided with the public eye in the mid-1980s. When the beloved superstar was publicly diagnosed with AIDS, the shocking revelation completely paralyzed the global entertainment industry. Rather than retreating into total obscurity, his terrifying battle with the disease became a monumental world-shifting turning point. Passing away at the age of 59 in 1985, Hudson's heartbreaking death completely shattered the cruel societal stigma surrounding the AIDS epidemic. He instantly humanized a terrifying crisis for millions, serving as a powerful, incredibly tragic catalyst that ignited a fierce, desperate fight for LGBTQ+ healthcare and visibility. Kerwin Matthews, Die Age, 81 in 2007. When it comes to the thrilling, swashbuckling fantasy epics of Hollywood's golden age, Kerwin Matthews was the ultimate dashing hero. Blessed with boyish good looks and a wildly courageous athletic on-screen demeanor, he mesmerized audiences by brilliantly fighting massive mythical beasts in beloved cinematic classics like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and The Three Worlds of Gulliver. He was the quintessential heroic matinee idol, perfectly embodying the enchanting family-friendly escapism of a bygone cinematic era. Yet the fiercely courageous warrior he played on the silver screen was vastly different from the quiet, deeply private man behind the camera. In a notoriously brutal industry that aggressively demanded its stars sacrifice their entire personal lives for the relentless publicity, Machine Matthews absolutely refused to surrender his soul, knowing that his true identity as a gay man would be viciously weaponized by the unforgiving studio system. He fiercely guarded his private world. Instead of desperately clinging to the blinding, toxic spotlight, he made a breathtakingly beautiful, highly courageous decision. In the late 1960s, he gracefully walked away from his soaring Hollywood career, relocating to San Francisco to finally breathe free. Far away from the suffocating paparazzi cameras and rigid expectations, he embraced absolute authenticity. He shared an incredibly profound, remarkably enduring 46-year romantic partnership with his true love, Tom Nicole. While he surrendered his glittering status as a massive action star, he gained something infinitely more valuable: genuine, uncompromised happiness. Passing away at the age of 81 in 2007, Matthews left behind a dazzling cinematic legacy, forever standing as a deeply inspiring symbol of a man who bravely traded Hollywood illusions for a beautiful, truthful life. Paul Lynde, die Age, 55 in 1982. Paul Lynde was the undisputed razor-sharp master of the perfectly delivered punchline, lighting up television screens with a flamboyant, larger-than-life persona that completely revolutionized American comedy. As the delightfully sarcastic Uncle Arthur on the beloved sitcom Bewitched, and the legendary permanent center square on the massive game show Hollywood Squares, he commanded the attention of millions with his biting, uniquely campy delivery. Yet beneath the endless laughter and highly exaggerated on-screen theatrics, he was a deeply complex man forced to navigate a fiercely intolerant entertainment industry. While his homosexuality was widely considered one of show business's most famous open secrets, Lynde could never officially cross the terrifying threshold of coming out. Instead, he brilliantly weaponized his signature camp style, using incredibly risky queer-coded humor to loudly express his true identity right under the noses of a conservative mainstream audience. He once fiercely declared that he was never just kidding around when he said something funny. It was an absolute declaration of truth. However, the immense suffocating psychological toll of constantly living in the glass closet ultimately manifested in a devastating lifelong battle with severe alcohol addiction. Tragically passing away at the young age of 55 in 1982, Lynde left behind a brilliantly subversive, groundbreaking comedic legacy. He boldly paved the way for future generations of LGBTQ+ entertainers, proving that sometimes the absolute loudest act of rebellion is simply making the entire world laugh. Jack Cassidy, der Age, 49 in 1976. Jack Cassidy was the ultimate mesmerizing embodiment of pure, unadulterated theatrical charisma. Blessed with an incredibly smooth magnetic charm and a soaring vocal talent, he effortlessly conquered both the prestigious Broadway stage and hits like She Loves Me and the television screen, with unforgettable guest appearances on Columbo and The Partridge Family. To the adoring American public, he was the picture-perfect patriarchal figure, famously married to beloved actress Shirley Jones, and raising a highly publicized Hollywood family. However, hiding just beneath that flawless, glittering facade was a profoundly tortured soul, engaged in a desperate, lifelong battle with his own identity. Within the fiercely guarded inner circles of the entertainment industry, Cassidy's bisexuality was notoriously known as one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. Despite engaging in passionate relationships with both men and women, the crushing homophobic realities of the era demanded absolute, unwavering discretion. Terrified that exposing his true self would completely obliterate his carefully crafted career and shatter his family's pristine image, he remained deeply locked in the shadows. The agonizing, relentless pressure of living a double life heavily fueled his devastating personal demons, leading to a tragic, escalating struggle with severe alcoholism and highly erratic behavior. The immense, undeniable brilliance of his artistic talent was continuously overshadowed by his profound internal turmoil, tragically perishing in a horrific apartment fire at the incredibly young age of 49. In 1976, Cassidy remains a fiercely compelling, heartbreaking symbol of the devastating psychological cost of Hollywood's unspoken rules. Charles Gray, The Age, 1970. When it comes to crafting the ultimate sophisticated cinematic villain, Charles Gray was an absolute untouchable master. With his incredibly rich, commanding vocal delivery and imposing physical presence, he effortlessly terrorized the world's greatest spy as the sinister Ernst Stavro Blofeld in the legendary James Bond blockbuster Diamonds Are Forever. He later cemented his monumental pop culture status by perfectly portraying the delightfully droll aristocratic criminologist in the massive cult classic, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was the undisputed king of playing highly enigmatic, powerful figures, but his greatest act of mystery was fiercely protecting his own personal life from the invasive, suffocating Hollywood spotlight. Unlike the flamboyant, highly publicized stars of his era who constantly fought for tabloid attention, Gray actively chose to live an incredibly quiet, fiercely reserved existence. Within the closely guarded elite circles of the acting community, his homosexuality was a widely understood and deeply respected open secret. In a notoriously ruthless industry where such a revelation could instantly obliterate a thriving career, he masterfully separated his dazzling public persona from his private reality. His theatrical peers demonstrated immense loyalty, adamantly refusing to allow his personal life to become cheap fodder for the vicious gossip papers. This deliberate, heavy veil of secrecy ironically only enhanced his captivating on-screen mystique. Passing away at the age of 71, in 2000, Gray left behind a breathtaking resume of iconic performances, forever serving as a beautiful testament to the quiet, unshakable dignity required to navigate a deeply prejudiced era. George Maharis, The Age, 94 in 2023. In the early 1960s, George Maharis was the ultimate undisputed symbol of rugged American freedom. Exploding onto the television landscape as the incredibly charismatic drifter Buzz Murdoch in the massive hit series Route 66, he perfectly captured the restless, adventurous spirit of an entire generation. With his piercing good looks and undeniable magnetic charm, he instantly became a massive mainstream heartthrob perfectly positioned to conquer the highest echelons of the Hollywood elite. However, his spectacular soaring trajectory was violently and tragically grounded by the brutal, unforgiving laws of a deeply prejudiced society. In 1967, the agonizing reality of living as a closeted gay man in a hostile era caught up with him in the most devastating way possible. Maharis was shockingly arrested for lewd conduct with another man in a public restroom, a highly publicized scandal that instantly shattered his carefully manufactured hyper-masculine image. At a time when homosexuality was strictly criminalized and heavily stigmatized, the ruthless entertainment industry immediately turned its back on one of its brightest rising stars. The devastating exposure completely derailed his momentum, effectively locking him out of the major leading roles he so clearly deserved. Although he resiliently managed to secure smaller television appearances in the grueling decades that followed, his career never fully recovered from the vicious tabloid fallout. Passing away at the incredible age of 94 in 2023, Maharis's heartbreaking story remains a stark, terrifying reminder of how Hollywood's cruel prejudices could mercilessly destroy undeniable monumental talent. Roddy McDowall died age 70 in 1998. Roddy McDowall achieved the nearly impossible Hollywood miracle, transitioning from a deeply beloved child star in cinematic classics like How Green Was My Valley into a highly respected, fiercely versatile adult actor. Best known to millions beneath the heavy, iconic makeup of the massive Planet of the Apes franchise, his undeniable talent was matched only by his profound, inherent kindness. However, beyond his brilliant on-screen performances, McDowell played an even more crucial, highly sensitive role behind the scenes. He was the ultimate fiercely loyal confidant to Hollywood's greatest legends, famously protecting everyone else's darkest secrets while meticulously guarding his own. Within the exclusive, heavily guarded inner circles of the entertainment industry, it was a widely understood and deeply respected open secret that McDowell was a gay man. In an era heavily fueled by vicious, career-ending gossip, he actively chose a path of absolute discretion, never marrying and resolutely refusing to discuss his private romantic life with the ruthless press. Because of his unparalleled grace and the profound, unwavering respect he commanded from his peers, the notoriously brutal Hollywood machine surprisingly protected him, refusing to feed his personal reality to the tabloids. He navigated a deeply prejudiced society with the quiet elegance of a true gentleman, finding authentic solace and deep connection within the LGBTQ+ community. Passing away at the age of 70. In 1998, McDowell left behind a towering cinematic legacy forever remembered not just for his acting genius, but for the beautiful dignity with which he lived his truth. Nigel Hawthorne. Die age 72 in 2001. Nigel Hawthorne was an absolute masterclass in classical British acting, revered globally for his incredibly sharp wit and profound emotional depth. Whether delivering razor-sharp political satire in the iconic sitcom Yes, Minister, or commanding the silver screen in his legendary Academy Award-nominated performance in The Madness of King George, he was a formidable, universally respected titan of the entertainment industry. Yet while he masterfully commanded the dazzling spotlight, he fought fiercely to keep his personal world completely hidden from the invasive, suffocating glare of the mainstream media. For over 2 decades, Hawthorne lived a beautiful, incredibly quiet life with his long-term romantic partner, Trevor Bentham. In an industry where public perception dictated professional survival, he maintained absolute, unwavering discretion. However, at the absolute pinnacle of his entire career in 1995, what should have been a glorious, triumphant celebration of his Oscar nomination violently morphed into a terrifying invasion of privacy. The ruthless, highly aggressive British tabloids forcibly outed him to the entire world, attempting to turn his beautiful 20-year relationship into a cheap, scandalous headline. Instead of retreating into fearful silence or issuing a desperate PR-manufactured apology, Hawthorne stood his ground with breathtaking, unshakable dignity. He boldly told the press that he was absolutely not ashamed of his sexuality, but fiercely protective of the profound love he shared with Trevor. Passing away at the age of 72 in 2001, Hawthorne transformed a terrifying public ambush into a monumental triumph of courage, forever challenging societal stigmas with absolute grace. James Coco. Die, age 66, in 1987. James Coco was an absolute, undisputed master of stealing the scene. With his larger-than-life physical presence, impeccable comedic timing, and an undeniable radiating warmth, he effortlessly lit up the silver screen in beloved classics like Only When I Laugh and The Muppets Take Manhattan. Earning both Academy Award and Tony Award nominations, throughout his spectacular career, he possessed a rare, breathtaking ability to perfectly balance hysterical, laugh-out-loud comedy with profound, heart-wrenching emotional depth. To the millions of fans who adored his flamboyant on-screen theatrics, he was the ultimate exuberant entertainer. Yet the loud, boisterous characters he so brilliantly portrayed were a complete universe away from the fiercely guarded, incredibly private reality of his actual life. Behind the dazzling Hollywood curtain, Coco was quietly navigating the highly treacherous, deeply homophobic landscape of the entertainment industry. While his true identity as a gay man was a warmly embraced, widely known open secret among his fiercely loyal circle of friends and theatrical colleagues, the harsh, unforgiving societal rules of the era strictly forbade him from living openly in the mainstream spotlight. Knowing that a public revelation could instantly stall or completely obliterate his hard-earned career, he actively chose absolute discretion. He brilliantly allowed his massive, undeniable talent to take center stage, fiercely protecting his vulnerable heart from the vicious tabloid press. Tragically passing away at the young age of 56 in 1987, Coco left behind a towering, wildly entertaining legacy. He is forever remembered not just for his explosive comedic brilliance, but for the beautiful, quiet dignity with which he navigated a deeply prejudiced world. Dick Sargent, die age 64 in 1994. To millions of devoted television viewers in the late 1960s, Dick Sargent was the absolute quintessential embodiment of the perfect American husband. Stepping into the incredibly high-pressure role of Darren Stevens on the massive culture-defining sitcom Bewitched, he effortlessly charmed the nation with his warm, relatable, everyman persona. He was the sunny, highly dependable face of traditional suburban family values. However completely hidden behind that flawless, heavily manufactured television smile, Sargent was silently grappling with a terrifying, deeply agonizing reality that he absolutely could not share with the world. For decades, the immensely talented actor remained deeply locked in the Hollywood closet, paralyzed by the completely justified fear that exposing his true identity as a gay man would instantly destroy his livelihood. He suffered in absolute silence during a fiercely hostile era that aggressively demanded LGBTQ+ performers completely erase their authentic selves to survive. But in 1991, Sargent decided that he was finally done hiding. In an incredibly courageous, world-shifting move, he publicly came out to the press, boldly declaring that it was finally about time. Instantly transforming from a terrified sitcom star into a fierce, highly visible trailblazer, he spent his final years passionately fighting for LGBTQ+ equality and aggressively raising critical awareness for the devastating HIV/AIDS epidemic. Passing away from prostate cancer at the age of 64 in 1994, Sargent left behind an incredibly powerful, triumphant legacy. He heroically proved that it is never too late to reclaim your truth bravely, utilizing his massive platform to fight for change and permanently alter the Hollywood landscape. The devastating double lives of these legendary icons leave us with a profoundly heartbreaking realization. They sacrificed their authentic identities to build the foundation of the entertainment industry, enduring unimaginable psychological torment to survive in the shadows. This dark, suffocating chapter of cinematic history sparks a highly controversial question that still fiercely divides audiences today. Do you believe the ruthless Hollywood studio system was ultimately justified in forcing these actors into the closet to protect massive box office empires during a deeply conservative era, or was it an unforgivable violation of their human rights? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below and let us ignite the debate. Make sure to subscribe to American Icon Stories for more Hollywood truths.